Good evening, class. Just a couple of real quick things here before I get started with tonight's lecture. The first part is I wanted to take a look at, or I wanted you guys to take a look at just a couple of the modules here and just to show you where we are within those modules. The Welcome and Getting Started module we have completed, but in the event you did not get the following assignments done, you still can turn them in. Now, the rubrics explained has been, you no longer can see that, but I've left these three up just so you guys can check out information on how to upload assignments and photographing art. Okay, now the next thing is, let's go back up here, the design process. The design process, we're actually going to be finishing up on chapter 1 and 2 on Unity tonight. I do have a couple of these assignments still open, so for the most part, this module is complete as well, so you really don't need to worry about that one. Then we're into line, and line you see is a pretty big unit, it's a pretty big module, and where we are there, you have your line vocabulary. We are the whole way down, character of line rubric. This is the assignment that is due on Thursday. This is chapter 1, the design process of Unity, day 4, and chapter 7, line, day 3. This is the video that will be right here once I'm done with it, okay? Also, there is a survey I would like you guys to take. The survey is basically on would you prefer to be live or online? There's also a question in there of whether you prefer having a recorded lecture or a live lecture, okay? With that being said, speak of the devil, let's go ahead and do our lecture for tonight, which is on chapter 1, the design principles, and this will be the end of the chapter for chapter 1, and then we're going to finish up chapter 2 on Unity. And then I'm also going to go into day 3 of line, okay? So now the steps in the creative process, if you remember from that homework assignment right at the beginning of the year, the steps in the creative process include looking, thinking, and doing. And for this first part, part 3, we're going to, we are looking at doing. Doing starts with visual experimentation and basically thinking with the materials. And when you think about it, materials are just what they are. They're just there until given shape by the creator. And in the example over here, you have some tires, some inner tubes, found objects, and then once the artist gets a hold of them, that's when the doing and the creating comes along. Ways to do this include trial and error, which happens to me a lot, intuition, that comes with age, and then the application of a system. I should say that comes with age and experience. Revision is necessary, doing and redoing. One of the harder things that I have when teaching my students about art, sometimes you got to start over, and sometimes you got to change things. Artists throughout history have done that. A lot of people just want to work on something. They don't want to go back and fix something or correct it because they know it's going to take time, but a lot of times starting over and over often does occur. And revision allows for an idea to grow beyond an obvious or familiar starting point. Now, constructive criticism. This is part of the critique, and it is important as part of the design. What I'll do a lot is just put in a little bit of critique. Is basically just, some people look at critique and they think that it's critical, and that's really not what it is. Sometimes the critique can be very positive. In other cases, the critique can point out parts that need to be refinished or refined, okay? There are a number of ways that you can do this with the professor, and I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but sometimes I'll include a recording or feedback on your rubric, and if you haven't, it is there, okay? So sometime that you're checking out your grade, a lot of times there will be recorded feedback there. Review by peers or classmates. Discussion boards are really good for that, okay? And then self-critique. Example is a journal entry. I do this all the time. Use words like emphasis, perspective. Use principles of design vocabulary. Think about what was assigned and were the goals met. Now, a model for a critique. Part 1 is a description. And when we did a credit line, or when we'll be doing a credit line, it's a verbal account of what is actually there and when it was done, all the important details, its size. Now, the analysis is a discussion on how things were presented, and this includes vocabulary such as the elements of art and the principles of design. And then interpretation, finally, is what is the meaning, implication, or the effect of the piece. Okay, now that does it for Chapter 1. All done with the design process in Chapter 1. I want you guys to think about that moving forward, though. Looking, thinking, and doing. All right, now Chapter 2, Unity, and this is towards the end of the chapter. One of the things that we're going to take a look at tonight is repetition and variety. Repetition and varied repetition adds interest. Elements that can be repeated to create unity include curves, columns, sizes, and shapes. Sometimes it's not planned. Sometimes it just happens. Unity with variety. Unity through repetition. One of the things that you'll notice from, let me go back to this. One thing that you'll notice from this, and when you first take a look at it, you don't even, kind of subconsciously you do this. You look at this and you say repetition, two twins side by side, same eyes, same hair. But then you also start to pick up on things that are a little bit different. The arm of the girl on my right, the fact that she's not, and it just tilted a little bit the profile. All of a sudden you start to look for things that are different. So unity through repetition. Emphasis on variety. In this case, you have forms with angles and curves. And you see when you talk about varieties, you have the curves here, and then you have the angles here. So you have a little bit of both. Assemblage, unity with variety. The unity is at work with the cross shape and a limited range of colors. So think about that, the shape and colors. Your two elements of art, shape and color, and it's organized with unity. Without some aspect of unity, an image or a design becomes chaotic and quickly unreadable. And take a look at this one right here. When you first look at it, you may pick up on the arrow, but for the most part, there's a lot of conflict going on, and there's really no center of interest, and pretty soon you kind of lose interest. If you put this up against a photograph where there's a point or something that catches your eye, you're more likely to look at that one than you are this one. Without some elements of variety, an image is lifeless and dull and becomes uninteresting. Now with this, I kind of like the house right up here in the corner because it's a little bit different. All these houses are pretty much the same. If you throw a little bit of color in there to create some variety, it's going to grab your eye, it's going to grab your attention. And that is the end. Okay, folks, so I'm going to leave you there with that. You have the character of line that is going to be due on Thursday, and tonight you have the line inventory, both your template and your final. Okay, be sure to submit the template because there is a release condition. Submit the template before you submit your final. Everybody have a good Wednesday, and I will see you guys on Thursday.